Hi there, Ronnie here, coming at you with a video. I was speaking with Jason the other day. He is running a Call of Cthulhu campaign that I'm playing in, the Massive Nyarlathotep. Excellent campaign, being shown on Jason and Becky's channel, Pair of Geeks 2, if you want to go and watch it. We're thoroughly enjoying it. So we're playing this game, and we were talking about the fact that our conversation was about the fact that plans are in motion. The bad guys have plans, they have a schedule. Certainly happened in the first part, and is continuing now as we go on. And I mentioned that the thing that really annoys me sometimes when people talk about gaming, and I've seen it from players' assumptions more than GMs, but it's still there, is what I refer to as the Truman Show mentality. Now, for those who haven't seen The Truman Show, please go and see it. It's a really good film with Jim Carrey. Really interesting film. The upshot is, and this isn't a spoiler, because if you watch a trailer it makes it plain, that Truman lives in a sort of bubble. He lives in this gigantic sort of set, and he is the star of a 24-hour reality show. The problem is he is completely unaware of it. He thinks he actually lives and works in this little town. And everyone, from the person playing his wife to all the other people that live in the town, are actually actors. And it's a fascinating notion. But what you see, and you see it at one point in the film, is all the actors playing the extras as he's driving to work, as he gets to near where he parks to go to his job. You see them all standing there. They're ready to go. And as soon they get a sort of count, they're all in first positions. And as soon as he gets to a certain point, essentially the director says action, and they start to move. And what it does is it gives Truman the illusion of a living, breathing city. This little town, everyone's milling about, it's everyday life. Sometimes, and I've seen this in some games I've ran with players, they seem to assume that the world is built around them. The NPCs are only acting on what they're doing, that things are only happening within their vicinity. That everything is there because of them. I ran Shinetar. I had one player. They were camping for the night. It was night time. They did a camping, and the world, pretty much the continent, was at war. So to give some flavour to them, I mentioned the fact that they could hear in the distance the echoes of a battle. It wasn't even that they were close to a battle, it's just that they could hear the very distant sounds of a battle happening at way off. And I did it to sort of impress upon them that this world happens. Whether they're here, there or anywhere, that battle was happening. Whether they were where they were, closer, further away, that battle was happening. The world was going on without them. One of the players immediately he says, "We've got to go. We've got to go. We've got to be part of this battle." Now the other ones, they were sort of low level. I mean, it's Savage World, so they were playing novices. By the time the whole campaign ended, they were legendary figures, but they were novices at the time. And the other ones were going, to hell with that. No, we're not going into some huge blooming battle. And the player who was kind of saying, got to go. His response was basically, but if we don't go, what is our purpose? And what he meant was, he automatically assumed that the reason that battle was happening was because they were in the vicinity to hear it. That, like the Truman Show, those entire two armies were in first positions waiting for them to camp so they could be heard. And I despise that as a notion. The very thought of the very notion of a living, breathing world, it happens without you. The NPC, I mean, the players might stumble upon a plot that there might be an assassination attempt on a figure. They may not know all the details. You as a GM, you know that the assassination is going to take place at a certain place at a certain time. Now, if the PCs discover that information through what they're doing and prevent it, fine, that's, they're going to do that. But if they don't, that assassination happens. You don't hold it off until they're nearby. The world keeps going, keeps moving. The inns are full. Not because the PCs are there, but because lots of other people are there. The blacksmith doesn't open till 12 o'clock. He's not going to just suddenly be open because the PCs have suddenly showed up at the blacksmith. The world doesn't bend to the awe of the player characters. The world goes on. Now, the player characters may influence that world for good or ill, but the world moves on. It's constantly going. It's going whether they're there or not. RPGs should never be the Truman Show. People are scheming. Schemes will happen whether the players hear about them or not. Things will progress and digress and ebb and flow whether the players are involved or not. And I would say, players need to get out this mentality that the world moves, bends to their will. I mean, the other example of it is, and I have seen this, are players interrogating NPCs. And because they're interrogating an NPC, they fall into the trap of believing that the NPC must know the information. This NPC, because They're the one they're interrogating. They must know that information. And I've seen them batter in on someone, go all out for them for information that NPC never had. But the players honestly believe that this NPC, they must have the information because we're interrogating them and we need the information, but they must have it. Doesn't necessarily track. Just because you found someone who might know some information, they might not know it all. That's the world. They're not the ultimate font of knowledge. So for me, people have to get out of that Truman Show mentality. Worlds ebb and flow, and if you're talking about multiple worlds, either because you're dealing with multiverses or you're doing a sci-fi campaign that's taking place on several planets, just be aware that they will continue to orbit, they will continue to turn. The worlds, the gears don't stay locked until the PCs are in vicinity and then they start moving. Worlds don't work that way. Campaign settings cannot work that way. If all you're doing is running the Truman Show, then it's not really a living, breathing world full of interesting characters. I used to play the old Star Wars D6 game from West End Games, and the original that game was set after the Battle of Yavin, the end of Star Wars, but before the events of Empire Strikes Back. Now, because of that, the world is moving. If your PCs are in a situation and they are nowhere near Hoth, the Battle of Hoth's going to happen. If they're in the Battle of Hoth, Luke Skywalker's still going to take down that AT-AT. Unless the PCs do something interesting, which, might cause a ripple effect that changes the course of things. But the world moves, it turns, it twists and goes. The PCs might influence things where they are, but the world and the universe, the galaxies, everything is moving of their own accord. They're not there to move and ebb and flow in time with the players. So that's why I have a real problem with the Truman Show mentality of some players and the occasional GM. Because it's not how an RPG should be. They're not there to service the players. The players are a part of a living, breathing, ever-turning world. And just because they're over in one corner doesn't mean that the other corners of the world stop moving. They're going to keep going. Plans, schemes, ideas, they're going to keep turning. That's just the way it is.